Welcome to the Sunday Special. This is going to be episode 39 of our Sunday series, and you guys are in for a treat. We're going to have a nice little JRPG chat with our good friend Jake. How are you? Are you there, buddy? Say hello to the world.
Hey, I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. I appreciate you coming on the show. We were just talking kind of before we hit the record button. It's been a while since we talked. It was the big spoilercast episode last time we were on, so it's been about a year. How's things been since then? Obviously, you're still kicking, so that's good.
Yeah, and the podcast is going well. I wanted to congratulate you on hitting the 200 episodes for the main series of
thank you,
the
sir.
podcast. It's
Thank
a
you.
great milestone.
I appreciate that. But yeah, it's been an adventure. So we're glad to have you back on for this one, and we're just going to kind of keep it lighthearted. Off the top, let's just say, what are you playing right now?
Right now, I am playing Pokemon Legends Arceus.
Oh no! Okay, stop everything. We're not talking about Pokemon here.
You know what? It is actually it is a great game. Did you play Breath of the Wild?
I did and stopped. I don't know how well documented it is on my dislike for Breath of the Wild, but I understand it's very close to it, and there's been many emulators.
Yeah, I've never played it Breath of the Wild either, but from what I hear, it's like Breath of the Wild meets the mainline Pokemon series. I mean, it's not as it doesn't seem to be as kid oriented as the mainline entries. So I think adults will have more fun with it than a regular entry. I mean, I do like the regular entries. I know that you're not a big fan of them.
Not especially.
But there's a lot more adventure type stuff in there it's really turned out to be really cool.
That's awesome. I've heard nothing but good things about it. I think Dalton's playing it as well, and he's going on about how cool it is. And it's one of those things, like, it's about time they made something more adult oriented. The fact that it's been around for so long, obviously the ones that played it, our age as kids, we're adults. Let's make it a little.
And that's not to say that kids can't play it. It's certainly kid friendly. It's just, some of the more mechanics, like trying to be stealthy while you're sneaking up behind things. I mean, it's more involved. I mean, you can just straight up battle if that's what you want to do. You can sneak around and, try to do that kind of stuff. It comes with multiple different ways to approach it. I think it was a really nice leap forward for the series. And I'll be interested to see if, as they continue the mainline entries, if they take any of the mechanics that they introduced in this one, and if they've been well received, if they try to implement any of those into the mainline series.
I was just going to ask if you think this is now the formula, or if, it's a little bit too different from the mainline and they're just going to keep on. I mean, obviously they keep remaking the old games. They're not going to change, but if they were to make new entries, if they were going to be more in this fashion or just kind of go back to the well.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't know. They've always been hesitant to change too much in the mainline series, which, given what we've seen in other, like Final Fantasy, the things that they've changed that have been, at least among purists like us that are not well received. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what they do. I mean, there's a lot of cool mechanics in here, obviously from the adventure type stuff. Then there's some, minor quality of life things that the mainline series could really use. Mm-hmm. So, and it's not perfect. I've seen a lot of people, say it could have used more polish, which, yeah, I would agree with. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's a good step forward. And there's a lot to build off there if that's the route they want to go down.
That sounds like what I would expect. I mean, they're trying something pretty new as far as that type of gameplay is going. So I want to see in, let's say, a year from now, because the Sword and Shield one came out not too long ago. It's sold like crazy. I think like 16 million already. And then,
well, I think that was in like what was that, 17, 18, or 19 maybe?
Yeah,
It's been
it's
a few
been
years.
yeah. Or what was the one that just came out? Brilliant
Uh,
Diamond.
the,
Yeah,
yeah,
that one. That one just came out and had sold 16 million. I'm sorry, I misspoke. So it sold like crazy, and then Arceus has already sold 6 or 7 million in like a
yeah,
week. So I want to see like a year from now what those two, numbers meet. And I'm sure that's what Nintendo's going to look at as well, as to like, okay, this was clearly more well received. We're just going to stick with this, or hey, let's make some changes.
yeah. I'll be interested. I mean, I've always played each entry as it comes out. I mean, I'm not like hardcore into the competitive scene or anything like that, but I played through the story and then I move on. I've always enjoyed them, but it'll be interesting to see where they go.
Absolutely. Are you getting towards the end of it? Is it a longer game?
I mean, it's not short, but it's not super long either. There's 5 areas at least that I can tell. I just finished the fourth one, so I'll be moving on to the fifth, and then I don't know if there's if that's where the story wraps up, or if there's some kind of quote unquote final dungeon type of thing. I've tried to avoid as much spoilers as possible. So
It's
yeah, I've
hard to
got an
do.
area or two left to go. But there's plenty to do. I mean, you can try and breeze through the story, and I think I put about 28 hours in. I'm
Okay.
sure if I was breezing through, I could have had it done by now. But I like to take my time and explore everything. Um, so there's plenty of stuff to explore. It's wide open.
That's really cool. That's not short by any stretch, but it's not long. I mean,
Right.
100 hours is our benchmark usually for a good long game.
Yeah, I
So,
don't think this one will it'll go that long unless you want it to.
oh yeah,
And like I said, I mean, once I get through the main story, I might dabble in a little post game stuff here or there, but then I'll move on. I mean, I've got some stuff in the backlog, so
we've all got stuff in the backyard. That's so. For the record, I've heard it three different ways: Arceus, Arceus, Arceus. What is the actual pronunciation?
I believe it's Arceus.
Okay, okay, that's what
But
we're going to go with.
yeah,
That's what I thought it was too. Until I heard the commercial, I was like, okay, then I don't even know anymore.
it's either Arceus or Arceus.
Yeah, on the commercial it's Arceus, so I was like, that's
Yeah,
weird.
well, yeah. I mean, that's what I always used to say Arceus, but then I either saw the commercial on social media or off your YouTube channel, and
Mm.
then they pronounce it with the hard C. So that's what I started going with.
It is
I just call
interesting.
it Legends.
There you go. That's what a lot of people are saying,
I
just
can
saying
pr- I,
legends.
I can pronounce Legends. I can spell Legends. That's just what I. That's what I'm going with.
Exactly, and I believe this is going to be a new line. I mean, it sounds like this they can go to all the different regions with this legends,
I
line.
was kind of hoping, they came out with the Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee one,
Uh huh.
and I was really hoping they would continue that series because I think that had a lot of fun new mechanics too. But they've never, at least not that I've heard, expressed anything about doing a second edition of that game. So I don't know. We'll have to
I
see.
I'd have to imagine that at least thinking about it. When I was looking at the top 10 best selling Switch games, it was in the top 10. So I
Yeah,
I don't see how they wouldn't at least think about it.
well, I hope so. The franchises that we've been relying on, some of them are getting worse and worse, and
Oh man, it's
you
sad.
know
It's sad to
it
see
is.
some of these. Either
Yeah,
it seems
that's
like either they disappear completely, or then they fade into oblivion and obscureness.
yeah. I mean, it was nice to see a trailer for that new Star Ocean game that's coming out. I was pleasantly surprised to see that they're going to keep going with that. But
I
I
was
know
shocked.
you and I have talked about it. I'm waiting for the Star Ocean 2 to come to the Switch. I don't know what's going on with that.
I had to imagine that. I guess all their resources are in this one, and then they look at putting that one back out there. I can't imagine that's not at least an idea, and they're going to say, like I said, I was shocked when this one came out. I fully expected 5 was the death knell for the series, so I'm glad to see it
Right.
coming. And yeah, I think a remake of 2 is well warranted to everybody to get to
Well, I
play
mean,
that one.
that's the thing. When they released the Star Ocean 1 on the Switch, it wasn't a remake. It was barely even a remaster.
That's true.
I have the PSP versions of both games. So I've played through Star Ocean 1 on the PSP. I played through it on the Switch. There's very little difference. I mean, there's some nice stuff. It looks a little crisper. Um, but I can't imagine it takes that much investment for a game that already exists with very little upgrades.
The only thing that they was it the new portraits for the
Yeah,
talking scenes. I guess that was
I
their big thing.
yeah.
But that's like a graphic artist in a couple weekends or something. That's not really.
Right. And I mean, and with the whole COVID pandemic, like that's something that can easily be done from home.
That is
Like
true.
we're starting to see a lot of the impact of the pandemic and how it's delayed games. Like we thought maybe back when it first started, like when Remake came out or
Yeah.
some of the Cold Steel games, those projects were well underway.
Yes.
So the delays on those weren't too bad. Now we're starting to see where it's really hitting, and it kind of makes sense when you think about it. The startup for new games, that's the stuff that's really been impacted.
Yeah. That's
Going back to Star Ocean 2, it seems to me like all that stuff could have been done remote, and I'm just surprised that we haven't even heard anything about it.
I would be surprised if they don't. It's certainly one of those games like I have memories of it playing it long ago on PlayStation 1, but I would really like to revisit that and get a good feel for it.
Yeah, that's one of the first games I can remember playing as a kid. I got it from my parents for Christmas back on the PS1. And I mean, that's really one of the games that kickstarted my love of JRPGs.
That's awesome. It's always fun to remember those first ones and how it
Yeah.
started. And I think we'll talk about that maybe a bit at the end, that nostalgic factor for games. So you touched on the first big game of 2022 with Pokemon Legends, and that's kind of kickstarting everything. How do you like? I kind of feel like this is going to be a good year. I feel like last year was better, and then I think next year is going to be amazing. How do you feel about this year, and what are some of the ones you're really looking forward to?
Well, the one I'm most looking forward to that we know for sure is coming out this year is the first game in the Crossbell arc for the Trails series.
Yes.
I mean, that's top of the list. Um, we don't know when Dragon Quest 12 is coming out. I wouldn't expect that this year.
No.
I mean, I'll bring up Final Fantasy 16, even though personally I'm really not looking forward to it all that much.
Mm.
I mean, I may or may not get it when it comes out. It just depends on if I'm playing something else at the time when it comes out, whether or not I have a PlayStation 5 at the time, because I still don't have one.
Okay.
Um, so, I mean, I know that's a big anticipated title. For me, it's kind of like disappointment of where the series has gone is kind of dampened my expectations. We'll see. I'm looking forward to that Dragon Quest 3. What do they call it? HD 2D
Something like that.
remaster.
Yeah, it looks
Yeah,
phenomenal.
that one looks really good.
Yeah.
Um,
Let's hope it makes
we
it
don't
this
have a
year.
release date. Yeah, we don't have a release date for that yet, but I can't imagine that'll take longer than the full year to get out. So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, you wouldn't think. I mean, it's not like they got to write the story for it. So that's, but
Yeah,
then again, that was the same thing with why it took so long to get Trails from Zero. It's like, why are we still have to wait till the fall for that one? But yeah, so have you played the Crossbell arc? I
I
don't
have not.
recall. Okay, so we're in the
No,
same
I
boat.
have not. I haven't played Crossbell, and I have not played uh, Sky the Third either.
Okay, so
Yeah, I don't play PC games on PC, so I was not able to get that one.
gotcha. So we're in the same. Yeah, I'm very Zero is one of those things like I have to remind myself that it's finally coming, even though I'm greatly looking forward to it. It's just like I honestly had almost given up that we were ever going to get like a console version of the game. But indeed, it's finally coming. And then we get Azure in the spring, so we'll finally be all caught up and into Reverie for next fall. So it's going to be a heavy Trails time. It's kind of been nice that we've had this little break because those are such, we've talked about before, such intense games. It really kind of emotionally drains you. You need a break in between them.
Not me, man. I could keep going.
You say
I
that
really could.
now.
I've actually thought about holding off playing Trails from Zero when it comes out, so that I can play Zero and Azure back to back.
That's not a bad idea.
Um, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I For some reason, just getting into that world, it doesn't drain me.
Okay.
I loved every minute of Cold Steel 3 and 4. I played through Cold Steel 3 twice. I haven't gone back to 4 yet, but I will before Reverie comes out. Um, yeah, I mean, to me, that has taken over as the best series that I've ever played, and it's not really even that close.
I in terms of series that are going on now and then what we know is coming in the future, like how do you how would you do better than that? I don't really know
Yeah.
the way the greats have fallen. I mean, I think Dragon Quest is still right there, but we're a ways away from 12. But the way Final Fantasy has fallen off, I mean, Tales is kind of more relevant than ever, but it's hard to match what Trails does from a gameplay and a storytelling perspective.
Yeah, I mean, to get into Trails, you obviously have to be a fan of deep, hardcore, story-driven video games,
Mm-hmm.
which obviously we are.
Yes.
So for us, that's not an issue. I could see how it would turn some people away, you know, signing up for a game that you know is going to be 80 hours of story-driven content. But I mean, I love every second of it. So yeah, for me, it's far and away the best. Dragon Quest has always been very good. Um, but unfortunately, it's made by Square Enix, the same company who's making Final Fantasy, and I'm really nervous that they're going to take 12 in a direction that we won't like.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's more action-based gameplay like they went to with Final Fantasy 15, that's going to be a real bummer.
It could be a deal breaker at this point. I don't.
Yeah, I mean they haven't done it with Dragon Quest yet, so I mean, give them the benefit of the doubt until we find out otherwise. But I'm nervous.
It's hard not to be with some of the comments, and even
Yeah,
with all the backlash with 15, like there's still people that love that game and want to see it in 16, and we're happy. So I don't. It's putting gamers like us at odds with series that are beloved, and that's a tough
yeah,
place to be at.
and I mean, I mean, I get it. The younger generation is more, they want action-based stuff. So I mean, I get why they're doing what they're doing. Um, but yeah, purists like us are just going to have to rely on going back to play the older games, and that's fine. I mean,
It
you have
is.
enough of them.
Oh, absolutely. Like, I've mentioned a time or two, this is, it kind of goes along with the idea that I'm not looking forward to a great number of games this year. And I am definitely working through the backlog. And uh, I'm not going to put much of a dent in it, but I'm going to try. I think I'll put the
Yeah.
effort out there. It's about time that I started playing some of these games instead of just collecting them, right?
Yeah, speaking of backlog, I found pretty good deals on East 8 and East 9.
Nice.
I found each of them for about $40.
Oh, that's a steal.
So I got both of those. They went straight into the backlog because I got them about a week or two before Legends came out.
Okay.
So, but I did want to ask you, have you played either of them? Do you recommend one over the other?
They at least 8 is in the digital backlog, and but I would definitely say to start there. I've heard nothing but good about 8, mostly good about 9, but I don't think you could go wrong with just starting there and going from that.
Okay. I know when 8 came out, there were a lot of problems with the translation.
Okay, uh,
So I wanted to ask you if because I don't know how this works. So I have the Switch version.
Okay.
But the deal I found was it was for the UK version of the game.
Oh.
It's got the PEGI rating instead of the ESRB rating on it.
Okay.
So I know they released patches for the translation, and I know the Switch is region free, but will
Yes.
patches download automatically for versions that are not USA?
I wish I could give you an answer, but I don't. I don't know.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm hoping so. I did all kinds of googling on it before I bought the game, and I think I'm going to be okay.
I think so. I
Um,
would
'Cause
imagine so.
I think most of the translation was fixed on the Switch version. It wasn't perfect, and they did release a couple patches.
Yeah, I know there's
But
been
from everything,
tons of work done on it.
yeah, from everything I could find, I think I'll still be able to access the patches, the DLC. I mean, I would imagine all that comes as one, so either I can get it all or I can't.
Yeah,
Um,
I would dare say like when you load it up, if you've got a bunch of updates and downloads that first time or whatever, that's a good sign.
right. Yeah, that's what I'm hoping.
That's but yeah, that's definitely that is more towards the top of my backlog list is to finally play through 8. And I know that will make a lot of listeners happy that have been both Jordan and Dalton in particular have been really hammering at me to try to play that one. So I would recommend it as well for you.
Yeah, another game that I got was Blue Reflection Second Light.
Okay.
I know I promised you a review on that one, but I don't think I'm going to get it.
Well, not today
Uh,
at least, right?
well, no, I mean, so I did start it. I got through the first couple of areas.
Okay.
It's a solid game, but I don't know. I just kind of lost interest part of the way through.
Okay.
Um,
Is it
so, I
is it
mean,
too like
fan
cutesy
services?
and yeah, fan service, all that fun stuff? Yeah.
Not really. At least
Okay.
not where I saw. It's not over the top like
Okay.
some of the games that we've seen.
Yes.
I mean, you would expect it's an all girls trapped in a high school. None of them know why they're there, can remember who they are. So, you could certainly go in expecting to see some over the top fan service stuff, but
Hmm.
so far, at least as far as I got into it, that really wasn't the case.
Okay.
So that made it easier to take the game seriously.
That's good.
But I mean, it just I don't know. Maybe it was the lack of the English dub. I just
That's tough. It
I just
does
kind
make
I
it
just kind of
tough.
lost interest. Yeah, I just kind of lost interest.
I know, like, if I wasn't as invested in something like Ryza 1 and 2, the lack of an English dub does make a difference. Like, that really helps pull you into it, in my opinion, because I do prefer
Yeah,
that.
with I played Ryza as well. I mean, with Ryza, you can get really pulled into the crafting system,
Yes.
and you can lose hours in there, and that just that Blue Reflection Second Light just didn't have anything that in depth. It just kind of sucked you in.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, I put it down for like a week, just because I didn't have time to play for just like over the course of 1 or 2 weekends, and then I just kind of lost interest in it and didn't go back.
And that's, I think that's something that I've come to terms with as well. It's like, that's okay. Like, it kind of stinks that you paid money for something uh, and you don't like it, but that's reality of life. And
Yeah, and it's not to say I didn't like it. I mean, I didn't hate it. It's
yeah,
just there's a lot of other games that move ahead of it on the list, and you only got so much time, and
you do.
maybe I'll get back to it someday. I mean, it's part of the collection. I enjoy having my collection, so
Yes, and
it's in there.
I'm sure you've got games that, like me, that you'll never play. They will always be just a part of the collection. That's okay too. But as we get older and we get families and priorities and jobs, like, time is short. And if you're
Well,
not 100% into it, go to something else. That's okay.
yeah, I mean, you're right. Working for a living does definitely it takes away from a lot of the time we could spend doing more fun things, but got to do what you got to do.
Absolutely, and unfortunately, one of those for me, and I'm not looking for you to make it, all right and get me back into it, but I just couldn't. I couldn't do it with Bravely Default 2.
Really?
Maybe I'm just at a place where I need to, try it again one day, but I got a good 10 hours into it. I guess it was a lot like Blue Reflection for you. I liked it. There was nothing I didn't like about it, but I just wasn't really feeling like that attachment that made me want to keep going.
See, I thought Bravely Default too. I mean, I thought that had a lot of the old school JRPG mechanics that we really loved from games that came out years ago.
Oh, it
I
did.
mean, once you started collecting so many different jobs, and you could customize specific abilities and all that stuff. For me, that was a big hook. That's why I put Bravely Default 2 as my game of the year for last year.
And I know you hold it in high regards. That's why I say those words lightly to you. That it's just I don't know. Like I feel like a lot of times with games, like maybe it's just not the right time. You're at a place personally or emotionally that's just not going to grab you the way it might at some other point in time. And it's not like I'm not going to go back and try it again. I think I just needed something else. I was going through a pretty good gaming rut at the time anyway, and it maybe just wasn't exactly what I
Yeah,
was looking for.
yeah. I mean, that could definitely have an effect on it. If if you start up a game and then you get, like you say, 10 hours into it, and then you get distracted by life stuff.
Yeah.
If it hasn't hooked you yet, you could easily lose interest quickly,
Hmm.
which is what happened with me for Blue Reflection. But yeah, I don't know. I thought Bravely Default 2. I thought it looked really good.
Mm.
Um, I thought the story. I mean, of course, it had a lot of tropes. All our JRPGs have tropes. That's never something that really bothers me. But the story was solid. The character development was pretty good. A lot of customization. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought it clicked on all the levels of what we look for in JRPGs. I mean, nothing that blew you away.
Mm.
Just a solid game all around. And something that we haven't seen in a long time.
No, I, I
So,
I agree with everything you said, and I think honestly for the Switch, I thought it looked phenomenal. I thought the
oh
graphics
yeah,
were really, really well done, better than I even were really hoping for. Like I said, there was nothing wrong with it. It was, it was like breaking up with a girl. Like it's not you, it's me, type of thing.
yeah.
Like it is. There was nothing that it could have done or not done. It was just not the time or the place. Apparently, Final Fantasy X was the right answer for me. Which like I
Oh
don't
yeah.
know.
I remember when that was the first PlayStation 2 game I ever played.
Okay, awesome.
I actually now I was a kid when 10 came out, so saving up the money for a PlayStation 2 took a while.
Yes,
Um, I actually had the game before I got the system,
that's awesome.
so I had the game, I had the guidebook, and I'm just sitting there, reading through it, and just the anticipation continues to build, and finally I was able to play it, and yeah, it was great.
That's a great story. Mine was a little bit different. I guess I keep having to remind myself I am a little bit older than you because I was in college when the two came out, and I got the system day one with a bunch of garbage games that nobody wanted. it was a while before we got something really good like Final Fantasy X to actually play on our
That's how I
system.
feel about the PlayStation 5. There's good games out for it, don't get me wrong, but they're
Yeah.
all available on PS4.
Yes. There's very, very
So
few.
yeah, so I don't want the version of the PS5 that's digital only,
No.
even if it's $100 cheap. I just don't want it. And since every game that we like has been available on the PS4, I've just gotten it on the PS4. And when I get a PS5, I'll get it, and that's when it happens.
Oh, and I don't blame anybody for that. I mean, that's what I'm playing Trials of Mana on my PS5 right now, and It's no different. Like
Yep.
it still got. It's really funny because it still got quite a few loading times all over the place. But the only game that I can look at on my PS5 collection that's PS5 only is Ratchet, and it's phenomenal. Like you could not do that game on PS4, but everything else is available. Well, I guess I got Destruction All Stars. They gave me that free with the bundle, and I haven't played it, but I'm playing PS4 games probably for for a while that are
Yeah.
at least available on it. I can't think of until I guess Final Fantasy or Dragon Quest comes out. Those are going to be the first that are only available for it.
Yeah, and I mean, probably going to be 2023 or later.
At least, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, hopefully by that time it'll be a lot easier to find a PS5, so I'll get one
Oh yeah, I
by
mean
then.
they're
So,
way. I mean they get easier, I guess, every day. But
do they?
I don't. I haven't. Honestly, I haven't had to try in a while, so I guess I don't really know.
Yeah, I mean, the last I'm gonna get mine from Best Buy because I've got a couple gift cards saved up from Christmases and birthdays over the past couple years. So
Nice.
that's where I'm gonna get mine from. That's the only website I'm checking.
Okay.
And yeah, I've never had any luck.
Nah,
But like I said, I'm not in a big hurry. So
that helps. I know I was frustrated with trying to get through Best Buy, and that's why I ended up with GameStop.
yeah,
But hey, if you got gift cards, then you're just going to keep on waiting until they
oh
get
yeah.
one.
I
Yeah.
mean, it'll knock a couple $100 off the price of it. So it's gonna be Best Buy for sure.
I don't blame you on that one at all. But yeah, I think that just goes into again what we're saying is like this is a weird transition with the PS5 being backwards compatible. I think a lot of ways that's encouraged developers to keep making them available for both of them, and we just haven't seen that leap with a lot of titles to PS5 only. I think even like I don't know, is the new God of War going to be just PS5? I think it's going to be have a PS4 version as well too.
Yeah, I'm not really sure.
Yeah, so they've definitely been a little reluctant to go all in, while the system is still selling like crazy. So that's not really an issue, but it'll
Yeah, but I mean,
be
think about if God of War was PS5 only. I mean, there's still so many people who couldn't play it.
yes.
You know,
That would
so
that would hurt them sales wise for sure.
yes, it would.
And just it would look a little bit better. That's all. Run a little bit faster. That's
Right.
we've seen the advantages, but that's
Now
okay. So
you got Tales of Arise on the PS5, right?
I did, and I'm guessing that it looked better and ran better, but unless I had it side by side, I wouldn't know for sure.
Yeah, I played it on the PS4, and I mean, I had no complaints about how it performed or looked. I thought it was fine.
Hmm.
Um, so I don't think there was really any big difference, at least for me. I mean, I watched, some streams of people playing it on the PS5, and sure, everything looked a little crisper and all that, but
Yeah, I mean there
nothing
wasn't.
major.
No, I don't think there's going to be anything for a while that's really going to. Like I said, Ratchet looked like a PS5 game. I could tell a difference in that, but it was more just the speed of everything. It was kind of like when you get a brand new computer and everything's just faster and loads better and it's not bogged down. That was kind of the overall impression. It's really fast. That SSD makes a big difference, of course, but
Yeah. I mean, I don't really know anything about game development, but maybe it has to do with, games like Tales of Arise. They're made for both, so there's a lot of things they can't do
mhm.
because if they did, it wouldn't work on PS4. So looking at a game like Ratchet, maybe if it had that been available for both, maybe there's a lot of things in that game they would not have been able to do, but not having to worry about PS4, maybe they were able to take it to the next level.
I think that's I mean, in particular, like because the rifts in space and time that you're going through, like when you see that in action, how fast and fluid it is. Like no, like like no, my PS4 would have blown up trying to do something like this. It was already running pretty hot, even at its best. So I think that's going to push. I mean, eventually it's going to push developers to want to do that, and I think we're seeing longer life cycles out of some of these systems anyway. So I think it'll be a while. I think they've got plenty of time to do that, but games take 5 years to make a AAA title anyway, so
Right.
it's going to be a while.
Yeah, I think the Star Ocean game that's coming out is for both 4 and 5, isn't it?
I'm pretty sure, yeah, and Xbox as well. Sorry,
Yeah.
Switch, but that's just the way it goes. Yeah, and I that's one of those surprise ones. Like I can't imagine me not picking that one up this year, so that'll probably
Oh
break
yeah,
the backlog
that'll be
one.
a day one for me.
Oh yeah, it just looks
That'll be
so
a day
much fun.
one.
Those I've enjoyed. If I could enjoy five, surely I could enjoy this one. I think I was the only
Yeah,
one that
I've
did.
liked all of them.
So
I've
I
liked
think we're in
I've
agreement.
liked
We're the
them.
only ones that liked part five. Then
I yeah, maybe. I mean, obviously it certainly wasn't the best game in the series, but still a solid entry in my opinion.
I thought so. It had its issues, of course, but I really enjoyed it, and
Yeah.
I, I would like to go back and probably play through it again before six comes
I
out
mean,
just to see.
it's like the Tales series. Like it's not turn based. You know what you're getting,
Hmm.
but they stick to their formula. They do it well, and you get a solid entry, knowing what you're going into every time.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
I appreciate when they're able to pull off what 7 member party fights at one time. It's like obviously I understand you can only control 3 or 4 people normally in a JRPG party, but so what? Everybody just like sitting on the sideline watching is, is I mean, it makes sense that your whole party would fight at once, doesn't it?
Yeah, if you think about it going in, yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah, I mean you're dragging along with you, but only 4 of you can fight. Everybody else just watches and cheerleads.
Right, exactly.
That's so. What do you think is going to be next? Are you going to go into the backlog after you get done with Legends?
I would like to give East 8 a try.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. You'll have to let us know how you're into it. If I've not played it by then, you can try to convince me to play.
Yeah, and I've been getting the itch to play Dragon Quest 11 again. I've never played the definitive edition, so I have that on the Switch. I did platinum the PS4 base version
Okay.
back when it first came out, but then I picked up 11S on the Switch. So I've been wanting to play that too, but I know if I start that one, that'll be a 80+ hour time sink.
It's going to take you a while. I mean, obviously, I couldn't recommend the definitive version enough. I thought it was a great addition, and there's some extra stuff too, so you can, get some more out of it, especially since you platinumed the base version. You don't
Right.
have as much to do as other people did, but yeah, I would. I loved every minute of playing through that one again.
Yeah. So I'll be looking forward to doing that. Really, it's just trying to bridge the time until the Crossbell art comes out. That's all it is.
You raise a good point in wanting to wait, and I'll have to check with Jordan and just asking this because uh, you don't know with well, no, you do, but with Sky One and with Cold Steel One, I mean, those were cliffhangers. You needed to play through it, and I wonder if this is just a regular game or if Zero is also a cliffhanger and you'd want to play Azure right away.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've looked up. I know what happens in the Crossbell story.
Okay.
I've looked up YouTubers who have detailed the story and everything, and I did that before Cold Steel 4 came out because at that time I
Mm.
was under the impression that we would never see this game here. And going into Cold Steel 4, I wanted to know what happened in the Crossbell series.
Okay.
So yeah, it's just like Sky the First and Cold Steel 1 and Cold Steel 3. There's a cliffhanger, and
Okay.
I mean, you know what you're gonna get. But I do know what happens through the story. It's just something I've certainly gonna can't wait to play.
And playing Cold Steel 3 and 4, you do learn quite a bit
You
about
do.
what I mean, obviously you don't know everything. There's a lot of things I don't know, but
Right.
you can't
But
go
you just
to Crossbell and not learn something.
you get so much more out of Cold Steel 3 and 4 having played the previous games.
I'm sure.
And
And I
for me
regret
it was just
that.
Sky. Yeah,
Yes.
for me it was just playing Sky before 3 and 4. But even looking up story summaries on YouTube for Crossbell, a lot of the I was able to get a lot of the references from the Crossbell arc when I played 3 and 4, and I mean it just makes it so much more enjoyable.
I really regret we couldn't play it. We didn't get that opportunity.
Yeah, and I really wish I could play Sky the Third. I've looked through, I've looked up story summaries for that too. Um, but I really hope that comes to like Switch or something one day.
Maybe one day. I mean, of course, they expressed interest in wanting to bring them all out, but that's yet to happen. I mean, I wouldn't beat yourself up over it. I put a good 15, 20 hours into the third, and it's nothing like the other two. And
Yeah,
it knows it's not like the other ones, but
yeah, it's more like an epilogue to the Sky arc,
it
and
really is. It would have been a long
it's
DLC, basically.
right. And I kind of think that that's how Reverie is supposed to be.
I agree.
Just kind of wrapping up, the first half of the series, and then kind of, leaving some breadcrumbs for moving on and forward. So yeah, I'll be looking forward to Reverie when that comes out. But
Absolutely.
of course, by that time, the Calvert arc will probably be done.
Oh yeah, we'll be 14 games behind by that point. So
Yeah, we can
that's
get into that if you want. That's
I don't want to. It's like ripping off a band-aid off of a gushing wound. I don't know if we want to do
yeah,
that. That's a hard one. It's so hard. Like we've spoke a little bit about it before that there's just so much frustration involved, and it's at multiple parties, but obviously most of it is NIS America. But Falcom's not without blame. They
no, I mean not at all. There's certainly other publishers that they could look to outsource to. And I get that they've used NIS for several games now. But I think had they chosen a different publisher for the Crossbell arc, given the fact that the majority of the work was already done,
yeah,
we'd probably be playing it by now.
I think that's the most insulting thing
Right.
is that we have to wait for those.
Yeah. I wasn't thrilled about that either. I mean, it is what it is. I realize that, it's more business related decisions, but it just seems like NIS is overcommitting, and then just, flying by the seat of their pants to figure out their timetables after they've already committed.
Yeah, overcommit, underperform, and but then they do so much. Like
Yeah.
I,
The
I'm,
quality's been good.
it has been. I'm
No
not.
knock on that. I mean, it's
No,
nice
that's
to
been
know that they're
fine.
taking their time,
I just
to
think
get
they're
everything
over.
right.
I think they're overbought as a company. Period. Because you hear so much like they're publishing so many titles and doing all that translation work. I just think they're behind and they can't catch up,
Yep.
which is sad.
Yeah, I mean it is, especially for games like these where the script is already done.
Yeah, it's
Geofront did all the work, and
and they're
they did a
using
great
it.
job from what I
Uh,
hear. So
yeah, oh yeah, I've heard nothing but great things about their job and that was a labor of love that they did. So I'm
yeah,
glad to see them get rewarded for it in a sense.
so am I. Yeah, I follow a couple of the members on social media, and they really put their all into it. They do it because they love it, not because it's a job. Um, which really goes to show the quality of workmanship they put into it. So yeah, I mean I'm looking forward to playing it, um, and I hope to see a nod to the Geofront when you fire up the game and they do all those intros, and you're looking forward to that.
I think that would be well deserved. I don't. You saw a post like that too. Something to the effect of just the amount of work that went into. I think they said they were spending one weekend just coming up with all like the treasure chest lines. That
I did hear that. Yes.
I mean, that's an
Yeah.
amazing amount of work for one little tiny thing that makes a huge difference in the Trails games. It really does.
Yeah. I mean, and it's not something that everybody's going to pick up on, right?
No,
Because who talks to a treasure chest the second time?
we do.
I mean, who opens a treasure chest, gets their potion, and then checks the chest again? Like
Only
that's not
real
something the average player would pick up on.
no.
But they put, I mean, and not just the Crossbelt series that the Geofront did. Like even in Trails in the Sky, it was the same thing.
Yep.
it just shows so much dedication to the way the games are created. And I mean, Falcom does such a great job. That's why I picked up East 8 and 9. I
Mm.
mean, I know they're more action based, so it's not going to be as, it's not going to be the same thing as the Trails games. But just the quality of work that Falcom has done made me want to check those out.
Yeah, they're very much like, I mean, I only played the demo for 9, and I was really amazed with how action oriented it was, and I didn't know what I was doing, so I got my butt kicked. But um, yeah, they're fun. Like, I can't wait to get into it. At least we know the quality that we're going to get. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
So one, we won't beat that dead horse any longer. We'll let him slide this time. But one thing you kind of touched on earlier, and I think is important. So I think there's this thing that is out there, is this nostalgia effect that you've kind of thrown out there, that I think when we go back and we play these games, like I said, I went back and played Final Fantasy X, and this is probably the third, or it's at least the third, if not the fourth time I played through it, because it was special. It was a very special game, and the remaster that they did for it was great. They did a really phenomenal job up to making that game look good. But what is it about? What time frame? You said you played. You know, your first one was Star Ocean 2. That how old were you when you started playing that?
I don't remember how old I was specifically, but had to be somewhere between 10 and 15
Okay,
probably.
yeah,
And I think just playing it at that age, and and it's not just Star Ocean 2, but it's all the games that you play around that age when you're a kid. The sense of discovery of just going through those, they remain your favorites, and no matter how poorly they age, you can always go back to it and find yourself enjoying it. And I think that's, for purists like us, that's something that really hits home. I don't know how that is with every other genre, but for us, I mean, there are games we can always go back to, no matter what.
I think it works for others a little bit, but the emotional tug of our genre weighs even heavier than
Right.
most, and I think
And
you nailed it.
I think it's because of the story. I
It
mean,
is.
you get attached to the characters because you see them grow, you see the struggles they go through, and then you find yourself going back even 15 years later. Like, yeah, I remember going through that when I was a kid and following the story and what the characters go through. And I mean, for me, I've played through Star Ocean 2 at least three times. I'll play through it a fourth if it comes out on the Switch. Legend of Dragoon is my favorite game of all time, um, just because of how cool I thought it was when I was a kid. I've played through that three or four times. I'd love to see a remaster for that.
Oh yeah.
Not a remake. I don't need them to screw it up. Just polish up the graphics, throw a few more voice lines in there. Um, you know, Final Fantasy 7, 8, and 9, same thing.
Hmm.
So
So that was that PS1. That was kind of your heyday of stuff
yeah,
at that age, and I think you
tail
nailed
end
it.
of the tail end of PS1, the beginning of PS2. Yep.
Okay. So yeah, that 10 to 15, as young men and women, you're going through puberty. You're leaving the childhood innocence and you're getting into those teenage angsty years. You're growing up. I think you nailed it though. It's like whatever game you played at that age, it probably, you said that was your first game. So for me, it was a little different. They weren't my first games. I started a little bit younger, but whatever you played then, that's what it is. So when you hear kids talking like, that Final Fantasy VII was, that most important game to this day, I think they were that old when they played it.
Right.
Now, kids nowadays is going to be something, I guess PS2, maybe in PS3 era. But for
Yeah.
me, that would have been Super Nintendo. So I think
Yeah.
that's why I hold Final Fantasy VI and Chrono Trigger in such high regard, is because that's when I experienced them at that emotional stage. So I
That's exactly right.
yeah, I think that's something
And
we've
for
been trying
me,
to identify for a while, but
yeah, for me, Final Fantasy VIII was the first one I played, which is why, I mean, I know, you know, the majority of people when they look at 7, 8, and 9, they say 8 was the worst. But it was the first one I played. It it's got the GFs that you summon. Each one's different. They all look really cool. That really got me hooked. You can see my Discord icon is for Final Fantasy VIII.
yes.
I've got the same picture hanging up down here in my man cave of that same icon. So found some really cool artwork for that. But yeah, playing through all those games around the same time as a kid, I mean, you just fall in love and they
It's
remain favorites.
now objectively now as an adult, can you finally admit that 8 was the worst among those three?
As I've gotten older, I find myself liking 9 more and more.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's just the emotional story, the incredible music. It looks great. Um, I mean, I would put 9 ahead of 7 and 8, at least right now. Ask me
Okay.
next year, might change. Um, 7 and 8, I mean, I go back and forth. I realize seven's probably a better game overall, but again, I
Hmm.
have more emotional attachment to 8 than I do
Right.
7. Um, and of course, they screwed up 7 with the remake, so that's
Yeah.
over.
It's hard not to view it through those eyes now that we have it.
Right. And people who are just getting into JRPGs, they'll start with the remake, and that'll be their first experience for 7. And you know that doesn't bode well for the old style of 7, because if you play remake first and then try to go back to the polygon graphics and all that, that's going to be a struggle.
It's hard. Like, it's when you look at it now, it's pretty ugly.
Yeah.
The character models. I think the world was good, but
Yeah.
the
I
character
mean, I can
models.
still go back into 7 and love every minute of it, but it tugs on strings that newer gamers just won't have.
No, I think I was more of saying like the graphics from 7 don't hold up against even what Super Nintendo did because of their style and what they tried to do. Like, it just turns into kind of a blurry, blobby mess.
Yeah, I mean, I could see how you would draw that conclusion for sure.
But yeah, I think 9 is a special game, and I've just got the, I guess, remaster of it on the Switch. I'm looking forward to playing through it.
I picked that up as well.
Yeah, that with the widescreen support and the character models definitely look now not quite like what they could do on PC. Now that looks even better, but yeah, that I'm looking forward to playing that Switch remake, and that's like I said, that soundtrack. Certain Final Fantasy soundtracks stand out. I think it's got to be near the top of the best ones.
Oh yeah, 9 for sure. I mean, start to finish, every track in that game is incredible.
Really, really tugs on all those heartstrings, and
It does.
that that might I'm talking about backlog. I guess that counts as backlog, even though I played it a couple times. It's been a while. Like, I don't know. I think I played it once or twice when it first came out, but I don't think I've played it since then. So that'd be something to go back and experience, and I'm looking forward to that.
Been through a couple times. It's been a while since I've played through it, but I'll get through it again for sure.
Oh yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I point out games on sale as often as I do. That, I mean, for $20, I think 9 was worth it, but for 10, I mean,
I'll tell you, listening to your podcast has cost me quite a bit of money.
hey, that's what I'm here for. Is to
That's right. Blue Reflection was one of them. I
okay,
never would have even heard about the game had it not been for the podcast, which is why I really wanted to do a review, but I just couldn't get through the whole game. I did send you a review for Dragon Star Varnir,
yes, you
which
did.
you read. Only reason I heard about that game was because of the podcast. Same thing with Fairy Tale. I really enjoyed that game.
Yes,
Um,
and an excellent review for it as well.
yeah, that was only because of the podcast. So yeah, I've found a lot of little hidden gems just from listening to the podcast alone.
Well, I appreciate that. And that's always been I feel like everybody we know about the big stuff. We still talk about the big stuff, but
Right.
you gotta shine a light on those smaller ones because those are great little games. They're a lot of fun.
Right. And
They
that's
don't.
what makes up most of the collection. I
That's
mean, when Final Fantasy puts out 3 games in 10 years, that's a pretty bare shelf. You
yeah.
got to fill it with something.
You do. You've got to play something. You can't play all JRPGs. You need a break. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But that's what we keep going back to, and I think that's what we kind of always will. I can't as long as now if they eliminate turn based, then I might have to say, okay, I'm just going to play old games from now on. But as long as they
Yeah.
make those, I'll still play them.
And that's the thing. Like they're getting to be harder to find. They're fewer and far between. I haven't looked at a lot of Kuro no Kiseki gameplay
Mm-hmm.
because I don't want spoilers. So I don't know specifically what that battle system looks like. I mean, it's Falcom, so they certainly have earned the benefit of the doubt. And the strength of the story will overcome any issues that I have with the battle system. Um, but I mean, like I said, the direction Final Fantasy's going, I'm not really even looking forward to 16. I have no interest in that Final Fantasy Origins game. We'll see what happens with Dragon Quest.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I could tell you at least what I saw from Kuro. I don't think you have anything to worry about. You have the option of playing either way, and it's not the same as Cold Steel, but it is still turn based at its core. Just a little bit
that's good to
faster.
hear.
Yeah,
That's good to hear.
yeah. No, I was once I saw it, I was like, okay, we're fine. Now,
And
yeah,
I'm hoping that's what we get with Dragon Quest 12.
that's what I'm thinking. I can't like that series is too important and beloved in Japan for them to change it too much.
Well, that's what we thought about Final Fantasy. I mean, you just got done playing 10. 10 was the last strictly turn-based game they had.
Yes.
It gradually moved away from it with 12 and 13, and then you get to 15 where it's abandoned completely. And
Ugh.
I don't know. I hope that's not the route they go with Dragon Quest.
I really hope not. I mean, I can't say, how that's been a positive at all for the series. So, and 16 looks to be even worse from the small snippet that we saw.
Yeah, and I mean that's not to say it's going to be a bad game. It's just purists like us who like the turn-based. I mean, we're just disappointed. It's not. That's not to say we wouldn't like it if we pick it up,
No,
but
I'm
it's
still
not
going
going to
to.
be. Yeah, it's not going to be. Oh, I got to get this day one, and you know,
It's not like we didn't know it with 15, and I still
right.
picked it up and beat it. So that's not.
See, I did. I've never played through 15 start to finish. I did play the Pocket Edition, so I
Okay.
was able to get a majority of the story, which
Okay.
was very good.
Yeah,
The
that was
story was
fine.
still very good, but it stripped out all of the fluff that they threw in, the open world stuff.
Yeah, I mean, and I like the. I mean, I play Red Dead and I play GTA, so I like open world. That's it was just the way it was done, and that the system just, eh. I don't know. I probably need to go back and do it again, just open objectively, since they fixed everything too, and see what kind of game it was supposed to be. But it's still an action RPG and a fast
Yeah,
one at that.
right.
Maybe playing as the other characters would probably help if you're not Noctis, zipping all over the place. But
Can you even play as the other characters? I didn't know you could.
you can with the update. They
Oh, can you?
that
Okay.
yeah, that was I'm pretty sure that's one of the things they did with it was the ability to play as everybody. That's when they did the episodes post content. Then I guess I'll work that into the game itself.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm 99% sure that's what they did, but.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's still think. Well, buddy, is there anything else you wanted to kind of touch on before we wrap this up?
Well, I know that we have gone back and forth on social media about the Chrono debate. Um,
The debate.
so we can finally put that to rest.
We can. I mean, you
Um,
okay? I mean, I don't want to, like plead your case like this is a court hearing or anything, but um, that's. I think we can at least say what we talked about earlier is when you play that game and when I play that game, that's why they are what they are
right,
to us.
right. And I think so. Now, obviously, neither one of us are saying that either game is bad. They're both
No,
incredible.
I love
Both
Chrono
incredible.
Cross. Absolutely.
Yeah, and Chrono Trigger was great as well. I think so, and I think why so many people like Chrono Trigger and consider it one of the best of all time is because it was it was like the first of its kind at the time, and people who were able to get in on the ground level
Mm,
experienced an epic story with great characters and very very little flaws, if any, for the game.
hmm
So, if you play it when it first comes out and you're in that adolescent age, it just
Yes,
sticks with you like Star Ocean did with me or Legend of Dragoon or things like
right.
that.
Absolutely.
I didn't play Chrono Cross until my late 20s. So I
Exactly.
didn't so I didn't have that, adolescent uh mindset when I went into it the first time, and it's not something that I look back on as being something that, I grew up with,
hmm
right? So when I played it, I, of course, great game. The story was incredible. But for me, it was pretty bare.
Okay.
Like you go through the story with the characters, they level up, they learn some new moves, but that's really it.
Yeah.
Whereas in Chrono Cross, there's other than the main characters, there's not as much character development for the huge side cast that you have.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of customization with, you can customize their element grids, and you've got so many different spells for each element. And to me, that's what made that game great.
Mm.
And the replay value is really high because there's got to be like 40 different characters, and
At
a lot of them
least.
are really
Yeah.
fun.
Mm.
And a lot of them are really fun to play. So, and again, I played it around that adolescent time. So for me, it does hit home with the nostalgia factor. Um, so that's why I like Chrono Cross better than Trigger.
I think we nailed it. That's why we're always going to disagree on because
Yeah.
if you take the emotion out of anything, it loses all of its appeal. And
Yeah, it does.
without that, like you said, you played it many years after the fact. Whereas I grew up on Trigger and then I played Cross the day it came out. It was the sequel to Chrono Trigger. Why would I not
Right.
want to be so excited? And therein lies the problem as well, because as a sequel, it's a pretty weak sequel.
Oh yeah, barely a sequel at all,
Barely
really.
a sequel at all. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, other than when Link's yells out, "You are the Chrono Trigger." I mean,
Hmm.
the Frozen Flame. There are some connections, obviously, but in terms of sequel, it's pretty
Right.
bad.
It's pretty standalone. Yeah.
Yeah, it might as well. Other than using the name and a few elements, it had the characters were not. Obviously there's connections, but
Right.
that was the start of all the things that I was looking for are not all the things. There are very few things in Trigger that are in Cross.
Right.
And so if you
Yeah.
like that game, you're going to be
And I
disappointed.
can definitely see. I mean, just keeping the nostalgia factor in mind, I can see why Cross or Trigger rather. I can see why Chrono Trigger was regarded as the best JRPG of all time,
Mm.
because when it came out, if that was your first entry into the series, into the genre, it would blow your mind.
hmm And everything would not
It's
seem as good after that.
right.
Chrono
And I think,
Trigger is Led Zeppelin.
yeah,
Like It had the
Right.
team that came together, the perfect amount of things, and it stood the test of time because it had all that to it. But in terms of technicalities, of course, games that came after it were better. There's better stories, there's better graphics, gameplay. All those good things have been done better because of that game.
Right. Yeah, it was a huge stepping stone for the genre as a whole.
Hmm.
A lot of the mechanics that we have grown to love originated there, and the genre itself just continues to build off of it. At least through the PS1, PS2 era. Um, and yeah, and I think I think the nostalgia factor is probably a big reason why we feel so differently on the Pokemon series.
Oh, absolutely.
Because when that came out, when that started to be a big thing, again, I was just a kid. So, going through and collecting all the different monsters and stuff, that was awesome. And the anime was big at the time when I was a kid. Like you said, you were a little older, if not in college already.
No, we'll see what. No, I mean, I played Red and Blue when they came out.
Right, but being a
No,
little older, you would get the feeling that, oh, it's a little more for kids than where
yes.
you were at the time.
Oh, it was a
When
total. It was a baby's game, and I was already playing
Right.
Dragon Quest and Final Fantasy. Why would I go back and play this?
Exactly. Yeah. So now, me looking back on the series, it does tug at that nostalgia, whereas for you, it doesn't.
No, no. It was. I'd rather play Mystic Quest than go back and play Pokemon. It was they were watered down versions. Nothing wrong with them, but I was already past that game point. I didn't. I played Final Fantasy 2, I had 4 before I played Mystic Quest. So to go back and play it was like, why are they talking down to me? You know, I don't need that. And that's kind of the way Pokemon felt to me. It was just kind of like, I don't know about
Did
this
you
one.
did you ever play the quote unquote Pokemon clone Dragon Quest Monsters?
Monsters, no. I don't even recall even seeing monsters growing up.
I
So
have two copies of the Game Boy Advance version of Monsters 1.
okay,
I've got Monsters 2, which I believe was the Game Boy Color. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. I loved those as a kid growing up. Those were so much fun. And, yeah, people, they called it a Pokemon clone and everything. I thought they were great.
that's
I
cool.
mean, who cares if they share the same, a lot of the same aspects? It's so much fun.
That's all that matters.
Yeah, and playing through the Dragon Quest series, like you see the same monsters, in most of the games,
Hmm.
but getting to breed them and recruit them and level them up yourself, as opposed to just killing them all. That was really cool.
That would be quite different, and that of
Yeah,
course has been one of the draws of the series is seeing them in 8 bit and now in whatever bit we are now, and
yeah,
seeing
the
them
3D
evolve.
models are incredible.
It's really been cool. Yeah,
I hope they come out with a new Dragon Quest Monsters game for the Switch. That I mean, I know they had the Joker series on the 3DS.
yeah.
I have them. I've played them. Um, they're okay, but I would love to see a monster series for the Switch with the 3D models that the Dragon Quest mainline games have now. I think that would be amazing.
I think that would do well,
I
and
do too. I do think it would do well, and I was really disappointed when they announced the Dragon Quest Treasures game
yes,
because we were originally expecting that game with Eric from Dragon Quest 11
hmm
to be a monsters game.
yeah. It's not.
Like, no, it is not. It is not at all. Um, like when Dragon Quest 6 came out and Terry was one of the characters,
Yeah,
Kid Terry is the protagonist in Monsters.
yeah. Very cool thing.
And I thought that, okay, Kid Eric will be the protagonist in whatever monster series this comes out. So when they turned it into that treasure hunting game, I was pretty disappointed. Not because it looked bad or anything, because it didn't. It looks fun,
It does look fun.
but just what I was hoping it would be is not what we ended up getting.
It's weird because it looks good and it makes more sense with Eric's background that it would be a treasure hunting game, but it's like you said, that's not what
I
was
agree.
teased. That's
Yeah. And I think originally a monsters game is what they wanted to do, but I know there was a lot of behind the scenes stuff that happened with the developers and stuff that they may have chosen to take the game in a new direction. Um, I mean, because you can go online and find articles about you know how how bogged down development got for a new monsters game.
it probably just got pushed at, I mean, they're working on several titles at this moment.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, I think if we get one, it's going to be on smartphones.
that would be terrible.
But that's what they're looking. I mean,
That
the
would be terrible.
these
Oh
portable
God.
little adventure type games that used to be on handhelds or on Switch, it's all moving to the smartphones.
Yeah, I mean, if that was the case, then I would think they would just remaster the first Monsters game and throw it on smartphone.
Which hey, I mean,
I mean, that would be significantly less investment because the game's already out
true.
there.
And I mean,
Um, just
look
put a
at
fresh coat of paint on it.
the Monster Rancher 1 and 2 they just redid. I mean, that people would buy that in a heartbeat. I think
Yeah, it's free money,
that's what
free
they
money for Square.
they usually like those things. They
You
like,
would think, but they haven't done Star Ocean, so I don't know.
yeah. That I mean, I guess that would be slightly more,
I mean,
but
I don't think that's Square Enix, but
no, that might be. I guess Trice would have
Tri-Ace,
to be
yeah.
involved. Yeah,
But I mean, it's free money, just sitting there waiting to be collected. So
that is. It's you see their practices, and we always like, oh, those greedy corporations. They just want more money, and then you actually have a good idea that would be free money, and they don't want to do that.
yeah, I'd be here. Take my $40, my $60. Just put it out there. Like
No, you
we'll
want
see.
this. Take this new Avengers game. That's what you want.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't. I think I told you before. I don't play many games outside of JRPGs. So none of those type of games ever really hook me.
Very few. I mean, I'd certainly play my fair share outside, but if I'm not going to spend a bunch of money on something that I know is not a very good game. You can tell right away.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unfortunately. Well, I know we didn't end the debate on Chrono because there is no end. It'll
No,
that will
I
go
mean they're
on
both terrific
forever.
games. That's really all we can say for sure.
Absolutely, and that's never going to change.
I think Trigger meant more to the genre, you know, as a whole. But I think it just depends on when you play.
Absolutely, and I definitely hear more in terms of like social media. You hear so much more about Cross, and when
Yeah.
all the rumors started about the Cross, remake that I guess has turned out not to be true, remaster, whatever. I mean, people really want that. Um,
Yes. And I think that's because Chrono Trigger has seen a lot of love over the years,
yes,
whereas Cross, after its initial release, hasn't seen much of anything.
no,
So that's why there's a lot of people, especially diehard fans, who want to see something like that. I think
I
the same applies for Legend of Dragoon.
absolutely
That has received nothing
nothing.
since its release, and I think a lot of people would love to see titles like that, brought back to life.
I think that right now, and we've kind of touched on this before, is like it's the perfect time to redo those games that meant so much to us in our childhood because they would. It doesn't matter. We would buy it. Like if it looked slightly
Right.
better, we would buy it.
Yeah, we would. And I mean, honestly, if they just released the same version for the Switch without doing anything, I'd buy that too. Just
Oh,
because it's so much easier to play it.
The only thing I'll say on that front is I do own the PS1 copies on my PS3 for both Dragoon and for Cross. And unless you play them on a small screen, they look terrible.
I've got them both on the Vita.
And on Vita, it's great. Like you can get
Yes.
away with it on Vita. That's
Yep.
wonderful. I have the same thing. But anything over like I don't know, like 24 inches, like the game is not meant to be played on those type of TVs, and it looks
Yeah.
terrible.
It just needs some rendering.
Yeah,
That's all.
it needs some help. So they'd have to do a little bit of work to get it playable on a screen of any outside the Switch, in handheld mode. But
Yeah. Well, I've got the Switch Lite, so I don't play any Switch games on the TV. Um,
that's the
oh
only way I play Switch. Like
yeah.
I won't play it not on the TV. So
Really?
yeah, I'm old. I guess I'm old school. Does that make me old school? No.
Well, I see. I struggle with this because I don't know what system I'm going to buy the Crossbell series on. Because
Oh
I've
yeah,
got I've got all the Cold Steel games on PS4, and I love playing them on the TV. But
yes.
Crossbell is that older style of game like Sky is,
Hmm.
and I enjoy playing that on the Switch. But like I said, I've got the Switch Lite, so it's only handheld.
That's tough.
So I struggle. I don't know what system I'm going to get that on. I
So
really don't.
you would enjoy it more on the Switch, but man, it sure would look pretty in your collection next to Cold Steel.
Yes, it would. I mean, and I love hunting trophies.
Oh
So
yes.
not I don't go hardcore to platinum everything, but as I roll through the game, I like to pick up as many as I can. Like I don't play the games on super difficulty, like Tales of Arise. There were a couple of trophies that I wouldn't spend the additional 30 hours to grind my characters up to go get a couple of trophies.
No, never.
I'm okay with skipping them. But I just think it's fun to collect the trophies that I can get, which obviously on Switch that you don't have that.
No, you
So
don't.
yeah, I'm really gonna struggle on which platform to get those games for.
Now, I don't know what to tell you on that one.
Yeah, I don't know.
You'll have to keep us posted on what you end up deciding in the fall, because now
Yeah.
everybody's going to want to know.
I mean, maybe I'll get it on one, and then a couple years down the line when they're cheap and on sale, I'll pick them up on the other for like $20.
I've done that a couple of times.
Yeah,
So
I think I own four different versions of Final Fantasy IV. I've got Final Fantasy X on three different platforms.
yep,
It's
as do I. But it looks
it
good.
happened.
The only thing I don't like the PS3 10 giant box. It's hard to fit in the collection because it's like
Okay,
it's like
I got the 10 on PS4.
okay, which is
I
yeah,
believe.
I've got it too, and it's normal. But the PS3 one was like it's like an inch and a half taller.
Is it
So
really?
yeah. So it doesn't really fit. You have to have a special shelf, and then then it's taller than the rest of it. I'll have to take
Really? So it didn't come with a regular size case?
if it did, I maybe got the a special version. I don't know, but it's a beautiful thing. It sticks out like a sore thumb in the collection.
Yeah, I struggle with space issues on my collection as well. I've got too many different size. The PS3 and 4 games are different than the PSP box
Yes.
sizes, and then the Vita games, the PS2 games, the Switch games. They don't all exactly fit real nice.
No, and like I like my Switch collection, but it feels too basic. Like they're so small, and it's just a title on it. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't really care for those as much.
yeah. My Switch collection has grown pretty good since I got it. The stack is getting to the top of the shelf where I may need to start splitting it in half.
Yeah, I'm getting there, but that's because I've got mine, I've got the wife's, and I've got the kids. Like we've got this weird assortment of games all mixed into one collection.
Yeah,
That's a first. That's never
yeah.
happened before. You'll get to that point one day, I'm sure.
I hope so. I hope the kid gets into gaming.
There's
That
no
would be
way
really
to
cool.
avoid it. Let me just say, if whatever you're into, they're going to be into at least a little bit.
Yeah, I would hope so. That would be that. I mean, that's a cool, fun thing you can do with your kid. You know,
It is until
especially
unless
our genre because they're not too gruesome.
no.
Most of the games you don't get a lot of bad language that the kids can't hear. I mean, you'll have your games now and then, but our genre is pretty good for the young ones.
Yeah, there's been a handful that I didn't want to play in front of her, but for the most part, it's like, yeah, it's fun. I don't.
Yeah,
She doesn't mind. But then on the flip side of that, because they are solo type games, like she wants to go play her own deals, and I've got my own things to play. So we don't we play some games together, but obviously you can't really play a JRPG together.
yeah, that's true.
Not too many of them. All right, buddy. I think we're going to put a bow on this one. This has been a fun time. I appreciate you coming out and having a fun little chat with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm glad these are back on a monthly basis. Always really enjoy these conversations that you have with fans of JRPGs. They're really fun to listen to. It's a lot of fun to hear what other uh, super fans like us are getting into and playing.
Absolutely, it's a blast. I'm glad to have them back as well. We'll keep these things rolling on in the future. But could you could you say goodbye to the fine folks and tell them what they need to do before we wrap up episode 39 of the Sunday special?
All right, until next time, get back out there and level up.